Hi there. How are we all doing today? Awesome. Okay, excellent. My name is Carter Medlin. I am a developer with the state of California in the actually same unit as John. I am a coder. I write code. That's my main thing. So what I'm going to do is display our new service, qr.ca.gov, otherwise known as a California State Government QR Code Project. All right. Who here knows what that is? Just one? Just two? Okay, all right. Thanks for question. So who has implemented a QR code before? Okay. All right. Small group. Okay. Excellent. So I'm going to categorize them, QRs, into two different types, a static and dynamic. So if you have a static QR code, what you have is all this information basically embedded in the QR itself. So that could be a lot. And as a result, it makes tiny little modules. Here, I'll point to this. There you go. Tiny little modules, and so much harder to scan. Now, a dynamic QR code goes to a shortened link and generally doesn't have the information embedded in it. So as a result, you have much larger modules, much easier to scan, and it can be printed on smaller media. All right, so what can you use static QRs for? Well, you can use them for web links. That's kind of the main thing people use them for. So I'll have a QR code that has a link to my home page or something like that, maybe a business card or something that's going to point you directly to some external web link. But you can also use them for complex information like map coordinates. Instead of having it go out to the website and grab the map coordinates, they can actually be embedded in the QR code itself. You can also use it to make like a business card where you can actually have, like I think in this case, it actually is a business card. It's got my name and my phone number and email actually in the QR itself. So this will work offline. You can also I use it for my Wi-Fi login. So I have, at home, I print it up on the wall somewhere, and I've got my SSID and password in there. And so anybody who wants to use my Wi-Fi, they just come in and scan the QR code, and it logs them in, essentially. So that's pretty convenient. We also use them for passwords. So let's say, everyone has different password storage strategies, but let's say you have an organization where you have a bunch of different app passwords, and some people will keep a file somewhere. Some people will keep a printed document that they'll put in a desk somewhere so it's offline, so it can't be hacked, right? So what's great about QR codes is you can actually put the password in the QR code and then print it out. And so if you give the book of passwords to someone to find the password they need, instead of thumbing through all these passwords that aren't related to their website or whatever their service they need, they can just scan and get the one they need. So they're not looking at all these passwords. So that's kind of a nice use for it. So now again, anytime you embed information in a QR code like this, it's going to be really difficult for an end user to scan because it's just the modules are so small. Now with a dynamic QR code, that is going to a shortened web link somewhere else. So the information embedded in the QR code itself is actually very minimal. So the modules are going to be much bigger. You can print that thing much smaller, and as a result, it's going to be easier to scan as well. So in the case of qr.ca.gov, it actually points to the actual site itself and has a 6-digit code that represents what QR it is. And so that's all the information that's embedded in the QR code. So as a result, it's, again, at the larger modules. So I'm going to categorize the different types of links. We've got a home page, which is what generally people use it for. If you have like a Heinz bottle or something and you scan it, it goes to like the marketing homepage or something like that, which is, okay, I could have typed that in. You're not really getting a whole lot of benefit out of a homepage link. And so as a result, people are used to QR codes kind of being kind of worthless because it's like, I could have just typed that in, right? And so, and then, yeah, let me give you an example of that. So a homepage link, like to get to DMV. So big whoop, I got a QR code that goes to the DMV homepage. That's not really that useful. Someone could just type that in and search for it. So as a result, anybody who uses a QR code that does that, they're like, why did I even bother? This is a waste of time. I could just type it in. So I really don't recommend using them for homepage links. You're really not getting anything out of it. And I think people have a bad taste about QR codes. They really like QR codes because of this, because they're not really used for anything useful. So avoid using them for just homepage links. Now, a subpage link, that's where it's actually giving you something a little bit more in depth. So up here, I made a QR that goes to dmv.ca.gov / a whole bunch of other stuff. and it's the online registration renewal. Okay, well, that's good. So it gives you something, gets you somewhere. But I still have to type in user information if I want to renew my DMV registration or something like that. So it gets you further than it would by typing all this. But in this particular page, it's only like 3 links in off the DMV homepage. So did you really give them anything? Well, not a whole lot. So what we really want to do is use specific links. So that's where I have a link just for me or just for one particular piece of content, and it puts the ID numbers in, and it gets you down to the actual record you're looking at, it would take you multiple steps. You'd have to type, so it saves you from not just navigating with links, it saves you from actually having to type. And in that case, the QR code has value. So without doing that, I think people aren't really realizing what they can use QR codes for, but with doing a specific link, that's going to really give people stuff that they didn't have before, and that's what we want to use QR for. All right, so imagine you're sitting, getting your hair cut, and you've got the cosmetologist license they usually have on their table or whatever. Well, if they had a QR code that would go directly to that license information, you could be sitting there and scan it and check on the current status of the license. I don't recommend doing that while they have sharp objects over your head, but either way, it's a way to get in there specifically to look at that one record. Instead of going to, I don't even know what site it is, the Board of Barbering or something like that. I wouldn't even know where to begin to try to find that license. And there's tons of licensing and certification websites. I mean, every department has something like this, that I go and I search for a license and I find something, but there's a lot of steps involved in doing that. So with a QR literally on the license, I can scan it, go right to that particular person and see exactly what their status is without having to type anything. So there's a big value there. So you may have seen like trucks driving around that have like, how am I driving, scan this. Well, even those, when you scan it, it goes to like the root site. You still have to go and, hopefully you took a picture of the license plate number or something like that. Now imagine if it was all the information needed to make that report on there. It had their license number and everything. And then all you had to do was type your content. And so it saved you all the steps to get you in. So that would be a good use of QR. So this is kind of a cheap slide, sorry. But this is the Pony Express at downtown. And so imagine, on all the placards, they had QR codes that would go right to the park's website specifically for that monument, and you get all the information you want specifically about that. And that would be kind of useful as opposed to, going to their site and typing it in and getting there. So that would save some time. That would give value. So this is what I would love to see. So we all renew our DMV registrations, this is specifically the vehicle registration. So I have 2 vehicles, so I do this twice a year. So every time I do this, I got to go to the DMV website, and I got to go find the link for renew, and then I get there, and it's like, okay, great, yeah, I'm in, and I got to type in my VIN, or the last 5 of the VIN, I got to go find that, which is, fortunately, it's on this form, but then, you got to type it in, and I got the year, or I think they also have to type the license plate number. And they also have this renewal identification number, and you can do that too, but either way, I'm navigating, so I'm going to the website, making a few clicks, typing some stuff in, and then I'm where I want to be. Well, if they had a QR code that had that information, the same information that's printed on this form, if they had a QR code in there, that would get me right to where I want to go, right where I want to do my payment, then I would just scan, and I already got my credit card information in my web browser. I mean, probably everyone has that if you buy anything. So I would just already be there. I just put in my, yes, I want to buy, or, well, buy, license, whatever, and then it'd be good to go. So saves you steps. I would then feel pretty happy about the DMV and their great service and want to continue to use their products in the future. Why is everyone laughing? So in practice, right now, the mobile gallery, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the mobile gallery, but that's another product that I maintain. The mobile gallery's been using these specific QRs since March. And so it may seem kind of silly, why am I having QR codes on there? I mean, you're already where you need to be. Well, if people use the mobile gallery on their desktop, right, and they want to actually use this mobile app, well, they have their mobile device with their QR scanner on it, so they go and scan it, and then they get to the same exact page that they're already on, and they don't have to type anything else. They're already where they want to be, and then they can get the mobile app that they want. So that's been pretty successful. we get a few scans on it. And so I have analytics that show exactly how many scans I'm getting, which is kind of nice. I think that's my next slide. Yes, that's right. So Google Analytics. So everybody uses Google Analytics, I'm assuming. You guys are all webmasters. So one of the things that is difficult to track right now is who's coming in with QRs, right? And maybe that's not a problem for you guys, but it's by default, you don't have this way of scanning or figuring out who comes in from QRs. You can tell that it's a mobile device coming in, and you can tell like what browser version they have, but you have no idea if they scanned a QR. I mean, so if you guys are just going off to third parties and making QRs, you're not going to know who's coming in using that QR. So the QR.ca.gov site allows you to enable your Google Analytics by using those UTM urchin tags. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with those. I'll show an example of that in a moment. But essentially, your existing Google Analytics, if you use QR.ca.gov, will already tie in to QRs as a source and medium. So I don't know if you're familiar with how source and medium works, but it might be a feature you're not using, but you can actually detect by the user actually specifying, or the link actually specifying what the source and medium is. And then you can use that to filter your requests. You can say, how many people are coming in with different platforms using QRs, and you can actually make campaigns, or maybe you have multiple QRs. Maybe you went to the state fair and you had a QR there, and maybe you want to find out how many people came in using the state fair link. Well, you can do that with this. You can just you'll be able to actually specify what the campaign is, and then filter on that in Google Analytics. So how do you do that? So this is the actual screenshot from the actual QR code service. So here I'm configuring a QR. So I have the name of it, which is the Mobile Galleries Apr QR, which is the exact same one I just showed you. It's active. The target URL is a longer URL that goes specifically to the detail ASBX page, which shows you detail about that application. And it says application ID, and then it's got an equals, and it just stops there, right? And so what happens is I can make it so I can put anything I want at the end of there as I'm generating the QR. And so every single QR will be different. The little nodules will be different. It'll actually have different information in them, but I'll be able to track the analytics as if it was one, right? And so this little box here, Google Analytics, yes, by default I have that on. Actually, I don't remember if it's on or off. But either way, once it's on, it puts the appropriate tags in there so that your Google Analytics gets used every time it's scanned. All right. So the formats that are available right now, we have PNGs, which is basically everyone loves PNGs. SVG, which can be embedded directly into your website. That's kind of nice. And EPS, which is the best for doing printing. You guys are hopefully familiar with all that. One of the other things that you get with every QR is a shortened URL. So this is actually the URL. Whatever your resource was, it could be this gigantic link, right? And just having this URL, the qr.ca.gov / and then a 6-digit code, that'll get you to whatever URL you want. So maybe you guys are familiar with URL shorteners, but just by default it's there. Use it or not. But that's what needs to be generated in order to have it embedded into the QR code itself. All right, and then there's instructions on this bottom link on how to set up a dynamic QR like the one I'm using on Mobile Gallery. So how do these specific links work? Well, what we've got is if you want these QRs to be on your website, or you want to print them out and put them on your forms, what you're going to do is you're going to reference this longer link here, this qr.ca.gov / QR handler, and then put the QR ID in there, which is going to be a 6-digit code. And then at the end of that, you're going to put this query string on there. And that's going to be the stuff that gets encoded in each QR. That's the custom stuff. So if you're printing out and you're sending out mailers, you're going to want to have a different one that's going to have an ID that's going to link back to your app or whatever. And you guys know what these are. So that's where you're going to put the custom information. And then what gets encoded, the second bullet here, is this shortened link with just the query string information on it. That's what gets stored inside the QR. That's why the QR is very compact, because it's just the basic information to get you directly to the QR site, and then for specific information. Right? The resulting URL then is pretty big. It's the full path to my resource, detail ASBX, and then this is everything that I specified as my root URL. It adds the query string stuff on the end there. And because I specified I wanted Google Analytics, I've got these UTM tags. It's like urchin tracking. I forget what the name is, but anyway, it's urchin something. That's, Google Analytics is from urchin. Anyway, totally irrelevant. Anyway, okay, so it's going to put the medium, the source, and the campaign. Well, the medium and source is always going to be QR code for the medium. Source is going to be the website, qr.ca.gov, and the campaign is going to be the title that you gave that QR code. So if you want to have multiple different campaigns, a campaign would be, like I said before, I go to the fair and I have a QR from the fair, and or I go to a conference, QR from this conference, or I put it on a flyer, QR from this flyer. All right, those are your campaigns, and so that's what's going to show up in your Google Analytics. All right. So at this point, that's pretty much all I wanted to show on that. Unless you guys have some questions, are there any questions on how this works or what you need to do? Nothing. Nobody? Do we have any? Would it tell me online if there's any questions?
Well, we could check the chat, but we're out of time.
We're out of time. All right, great. Okay. Anyway, if you want to use it, just go to qr.ca.gov. Click on, I think right now I have, when you go to Manage QRs, it'll ask you to log in, but there'll be a button that says Sign Up. And essentially right now I just have a Google form where you guys can specify your information, and I will get back to you create an account. So I didn't want the public to be able to just go ahead and make accounts, obviously. So you can just fill that out. Or you can contact me. I'm Carter Medlin. It's just carter.medlin, M-E-D-L-I-N, at state.ca.gov, and we can talk about this if you like. All right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.